All right, it's Eric Kneller here with more for you now. I am your AI powered profit consultant. This presentation is psychology behind personalized lead generation AI follow up. So I made this primarily from a remodeler's perspective, but it can actually apply to any business really. But if you're in the home services industry and you're in the higher end, this is for you. But again, it's going to apply to any industry where there's an opportunity to create your own leads versus getting third party or aggregator leads. So let's jump into a little bit. Here comes the challenge and the trap of third parties, like in this example, Angie's, where they are selling people who have reached out and said they want to do something in their home. The problem is that it's typically shared. You get a lot of data points, I know, but there's a lot of people that are fighting over that particular lead, which then turns into the race to the bottom, right? Because one of the first questions everyone wants to know that comes in that way is, how much is this going to cost me? And then you are bidding across multiple contractors. This is true again of any business where you are buying leads, but there's a challenge with that happens not only in the front end, but I can tell you from personal experience when trying to work with those lead lists after they've gone cold and do our leads revival method, we can still get responses, but it's much harder because they are not really tuned into you and your business. Hope that makes sense. It ends up being more of a race to the bottom. This is the buyer's journey. Everybody, including myself, wish that the first time you're talking to the buyer that they were ready to buy. But the reality is that that's only 1 to 3% of those potential clients that are ready to buy today, which means just because I like cars doesn't mean that I'm buying one today. If I start shopping for cars, it may not mean I'm buying one for 6 months. It's way different than it's just a purchase like, hey, I'm going to buy a t-shirt on Amazon, right? And here's the Google 7-Eleven 4 rule I put at the bottom here. This is an older metric, but it's still very true. 7 hours of content or study somebody's doing, and if they're taking in more of your content, the better. 11 different touch points from 4 different venues or 4 different sources. So they came in on a website, then they saw on Facebook, and then they went and looked at a YouTube video, and then they saw some stuff on Insta. So you got 4 channels there, okay? The problem is that most people are coming in somewhere on the bottom of the pyramid, right? They don't even know if they have a problem. Once they are aware, then they start information gathering, and then they are looking, and then they're ready to buy. So when we're talking to somebody, and when you're talking to your clients, it's crucial to know what stage they're in. And that's why getting them early to start knowing you and then using the proper tools to take them through this better success, higher quality. But this is just the reality. And I talked to several people this year where this was just not what they were thinking the path is. The thought process that says, well, we have all the information on our website, so they should just take the next step now, doesn't work because psychologically that's not how people are buying. I wish it was different, but this is the truth. And it's very costly to try to get those 1 to 3%. You're going to spend a whole lot more money on those leads. And that's why people are selling appointments or only taking money off of closed deals. That's kind of a new agency model now and it's a premium price because when you get, I don't care what industry again, but it's hard to find somebody in that 1 to 3%. So no, for every 100 that come to the top of the funnel, they need to be followed up with till they get closer to that 7-Eleven 4 rule. And then the truth is that most of the buying decision has been made before the first sales conversation if they follow that path. Hope that's helpful, but that's just the way it is. Now, going from generic to personalized, getting out of that price war and taking advantage of the personalization. Like them or hate them, not my favorite, but Meta still has the most data, the most access to people. And yes, the people in your target market are looking, if you're in that senior level of age, they're still coming in and look at family pictures, so they're scrolling through, and boom, all of a sudden they start to see your message. It's really important what that message is because, hey, I do bathrooms does not speak to the pain point of that particular person. So again, psychologically, It's much better to try to help them solve pain than it is to get them to pleasure, because human nature is we move twice as fast away from pain and to the solution than we do to get a little bit of pleasure. Think of it again, you'd rather, if you're in serious pain, you want the pain relief pill versus the vitamin that could keep you out of that pain if you take it over the course of 20 years. That's just the way it is. So targeting your ideal client profile, you can target them very narrowly and very right. You do multiple sort of stages in this, so you get a wide, medium, narrow targeting, get people into the top of that funnel, and then start pre-qualifying them. This way they're seeing you all the way through, they get to know you, and they're way more likely to convert than those cold leads. And here's a key at the bottom here. Now you're in a stage, this isn't for everybody, but if you're in a business where you'd want to eliminate some of the tire kickers, so you make them jump through a few hoops, one of the hoops they can jump through is you can actually know how financially qualified a buyer is before your team is sitting down with them, so that you know, and I'm talking details like their creditworthiness scores, how much they have in their 401k, because sit down with that same buyer and they're trying to make a $15,000 out-of-pocket decision, $20,000, well, we're going to have to wait till the tax return comes in, or if this happens or this matures, versus knowing going into that you can offer them a payment plan that you know that they can afford. Now all of a sudden you're getting all of that money up front, it comes at a higher ticket, and they're qualified for it. And by the way, don't fight it. This is how people buy. They buy on monthly payments. Again, you don't have to like it. It just is the way it is. And that's what you get from going from that generic to personalized. Okay. And this does these things for you. Builds the trust because you have positive interactions all the way up, right? You're mitigating risk. So in this example, using remodeling, again, could be any kind of high ticket, but some space like a kitchen or a bathroom where somebody's going to spend a lot of time, a lot of emotional investment in that, okay? And plus the touch points, let's say you're sending them examples and testimonials and short videos that you cut with other happy customers. They're going to love seeing other people talk about you. It helps validate their decision. So that's what the multiple touch points get you, and why you want to be able to automate this and use AI as much as possible to tailor it to those clients. So your follow-up strategy must address these psychological needs rather than just saying, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Okay, so make sure you're hitting the hot buttons. Again, that's how people buy. They buy on emotion 100% of the time. Then they look for information to validate their decision. That's just the way it is. So leveraging AI for this means that you can be consistent, so everybody gets touched at the same time, the same way, consistently. And I should also say that you can do consistent touch points, and you can do randomized follow-up, which is amazing. So you're always top of mind, and it's basically the old buy or die scenario. They're either going to eventually move into the lower end of your funnel and purchase, book that consultation, or they're going to say stop, or they're going to get somebody else to do it, which either way, you know, a no is as good as a yes at some point. It's communication that's personalized, because once you have them into your CRM and you know who they are, you can start to gather things from them if you want to, and make follow-up very specific. You can take them down a different path based on what they said they liked. You can have all kinds of things set up like that, and it provides value. Remember the 7-Eleven 4, giving them educational content, giving them other things to look at, ideas, inspiration, maybe some other projects that just were recently done in their area, in their demographic, so people can see what are other people doing with their bathroom in the area, right? Or you know, just that's the old rule. People want to know who else is doing this near me. That's what they always want to know, and so you can do all that with AI. Here's a graphical example. So your manual traditional approach, if you are trying to move this down a little bit, if you're trying to do everything manually, people give up fast. It's just the way it is, and we're busy. So touch points, 2-3 touch points. Only 14% of your leads are getting that amazing amount of service, right? Basic automation. What do I mean? Maybe you're using a third-party service to shoot out some texts, you know, maybe after a sale, or they came in and they get sent 3 or 4 text messages on the front end, and then a couple emails, some basic automation, or using full AI power from the front all the way through. So the numbers are what you see there. Like the basic automation, maybe it's almost 6 times they're getting touched. That's a little over half of your leads. With AI, you turn the whole thing on. Now you're looking at closer to that 18 to 20 touch points, and you can cover 96% of your total lead volume with an AI power system behind them in an omni-channel approach, touching them from all different ways and or communicating with them in the channel that they communicate with you. So if somebody comes in through Facebook Messenger, you're having the conversation in Facebook Messenger. Instagram DMs. They preferred SMS, great. Your AI is SMS texting with them, and always try and answer their questions, give them information, and then don't forget to ask, are you ready now to book a consultation? But it's a give and take. So the number one thing that AI does first is fix leaky buckets. And that's what this says right down here. You can't just plug in AI and leads come in. There has to be a lead flow, and then there has to be a way to automate that and make it personalized like we just talked about. That's the power of what you can do with an AI powered system. So here's just an example case study. We're a kitchen remodeler using the aggregator services. And if you pause this and do the math, you know, the fortune's in the follow-up. We already understand that. But the classification and the quality of leads coming in, if you're paying on average that 22 leads, 3,800 a month to have an aggregator lead system, and those are a lot of people that are price shopping, right? So they're talking to 2 or 3 people, you have to fight to get to them, versus implementing your own campaign where they see your name from the jump. They start to get a feel for your projects in the follow-up. They see some of your people. They see some testimonials and some reviews. Now you're dropping your lead cost, okay, to get more leads. Okay, they're all yours. Nobody else is chasing them. And that example, this kitchen remodeler example here, closing just a couple more projects at a much higher value because they're positioned as a premium provider. We've cut out that price shopper, and remember, we can financially pre-qualify people before they're even being sat down with. So you can tell if they're ready or not. Why should you send your sales lead an hour into the field to go talk to somebody to take 2 hours that says, well, we really can't do it, right? So the ROI in this is huge, big increase. Again, you can take the low numbers there, 2 times 28 times 12 versus 3 times 42 times 12. And you're going to see that it's an order of magnitude that's huge. It's like 670 versus 1.6 million. It's a big difference in the bottom line, and you're spending less to get more. It's a really smart way to do this. So it gives you the competitive advantage. Again, you're not all just talking about price-based. You're differentiating yourself on quality. You're starting the relationship before somebody ever gets there. And you're now looked at like everybody wants to be the doctor, right? The trusted advisor. If you just put that white lab coat on, and they're going to take your advice because you are the expert. They've been listening to you, looking at your content, and learning all about you and hearing from your customers for, it could be, a month before they sat down with you. But remember, all that happened automatically with the AI nurturing them. So it does not have to be a manual process, and we can keep up with that. That's why it doesn't work that way. So you get higher value project, lower acquisition cost. What's this all about? More profit. Because if you're not making enough profit, all the numbers don't work. If you are actually losing money on sales, that doesn't work. You don't want more of those because it's a crash and burn, right? So this builds your business with that, what you see at the bottom, sustainable competitive moat around your business. So what to do next? How to win your best clients and stop competing on price. Start winning on that trust relationship and your proven expertise. Next steps. Go ahead and schedule your AI Readiness Assessment call with us. All I do there is ask you some questions to see if you are ready for AI. You might have got a feeling watching some of this that there may be some steps you need to take before you turn on AI because you don't want to turn it on at the wrong time. And then you'd get a free customized follow-up framework built for your business and implement a pilot program, demonstrate it before you do a full commitment to it So that's the very next steps. Definitely get on that call with me. And you can do that by booking right there at aira.moreforyournow.com. Or you can also email me if you want. Or if you want to have some fun, you can text AIRA to that number down in the bottom right. And my AI assistant, Mary, will chat with you via text. And you should have fun with that if you want. And she'll help you get booked in. Hopefully, this is helpful for you. And I look forward to talking with you soon. I'm Eric, your AI Profit Consultant.